So welcome, happy Tuesday morning. Welcome to the Outlook on Mobile Devices talk. I'm Scott Stiles. I'm a group program manager in the Outlook team. Not yet, Alan. I'm a group program manager in the Outlook team focused on mobile devices, Universal, and Triage. Alan Philish is here as well from marketing, and he is our demo god, and it's all going to go perfectly. So I'm gonna spend about 20 minutes framing the space, talking about where we think we're at, the progress we're making, and then we're going to dive into about 20-25 minutes worth of demos. So that's the layout, and then we'll have plenty of time for Q&A. I'm sure you have lots of questions. So with that, I'm going to go ahead and get started. So let's talk about the last year. And from the perspective of our customers, I think it's been a significant year. Internally at the company, we're able to talk about things now that we've been working on for a few years. We didn't just realize that smartphones were an important endpoint. We've been working on experiences for those endpoints for quite a while. I happen to have been working on Universal Outlook for the last couple of years. But it's exciting to be able to show and start actually talking about the functionality and how it's going to land with customers. So if we look back a year, Outlook Desktop 2013, Outlook for Mac, a bit behind, but investing and catching up. We had a great web experience. We had MOA against 365 for iOS and Android. But if you look at the profile, they're clearly not yet betting big on mobile devices. Now, behind the scenes, we were investing heavily. If you look at now, other talks cover these in great detail, but continuing to invest deeply in Outlook Desktop. Outlook for Mac, getting increased investment, clearly an important endpoint. OA, continuing to invest. That's a flagship web experience, and many of our customers need to work in a browser. But you're starting to see native experiences show up on iOS, Android, and new Windows devices. Native experiences, branded Outlook, carrying the promise of that Outlook brand for our customers. So if we look at this in terms of position or balance sheet, where we're strong, where we have challenges, we traditionally, Outlook Desktop grew up in a world where you went to work, logged into your PC, you had a fat pipe to the local network, and that was the way you did email, and that's where Outlook Desktop matured. It was not an ecosystem; it was a single endpoint, and built incredible strength there. And also, we know that email continues to be incredibly important at work. And so, if you look at the combination of Outlook Desktop strength on PC and the continued vitality of email in the workplace, we've got a strong position to build from. But it's clearly not enough in today's age of computing. Let me back up to build. So, just to talk just in a bit more detail about sort of the strength position. If you look at it in terms of engagement, if you look at users times time, this happens to be Outlook mapped against the other Office apps. Outlook is or with the exception of IE, the most used or has the highest dwell time, if you will, of any app on Windows. People use it. People spend a ton of time in it. They value it highly. We wondered though, is it a burden or do they love it? We went out and actually did what we called a deprivation study with intentionally a younger generation of folks new to the workforce, trying to understand how they thought about Outlook. We paid them to allow us to take Outlook away from them for a couple of weeks, and they bought their way back in. About a third said absolutely not. Some people lasted hours, some a day or two. No one lasted the 2 weeks. And it was enlightening. We learned a lot about how deeply people depend on Outlook, how much they trust it, how central it is to the way they work and the way they show up in the workplace. And email not quite dead yet, as far as we can tell. It continues to grow on all dimensions, both in the workplace and in terms of accounts in the consumer space. Yet competition has never been stronger. Investment has never been more significant amongst our competition. It's an incredibly vibrant space. But it turns out, at the end of the day, it continues to be an incredibly important workload. So clearly challenges. And this has been driving the way that we've been investing for the last few years. So obviously people are spending a massive amount of time on their mobile devices. I believe the number we saw the other day was people on average check mail on their phone 150 times a day. It's a reflex, it's a habit. And these are essential devices in the email ecosystem. The other challenge is we don't own the end. We, Microsoft, don't own all the endpoints. Right? We have other devices that Outlook needs to show up great on, and we recognize that. And so, for both the sake of the brand and our customers who want to use Outlook, use an experience that they trust across all these devices, we need to be on these devices. And then very strong competition. You've got Google coming at us head-on, sideways with Inbox. You've got many different competitors that are like email, but a new twist on email in the workplace. So it's a vibrant space. This should be no surprise to folks in the room. You've probably checked mail on your phone twice since I started talking. But I understand you can't help it, and neither can I. This is the percentage of email that is opened on a particular device. Couple points to make here. One is not surprising, but the second is the amount of time that is spent in the app or with each piece of communication is vastly different than on a PC. I believe that roughly the average of time spent in the app, in the iOS app, is less than a minute. People boot it, do something quite quickly while they're sitting at a light. Experiences need to be optimized for that. It needs to be lightning fast. We need to build tuned experiences for those use cases. And then we need to build an integrated ecosystem that allows people to take the work that they've done in that chatty manner, if you will, and go far deeper with it on the PC. When we think about customers, we've got a couple of personas that we've used for the last couple of years. We call Kat and Lola. They are fictitious. They are humans, but these are not their names. So Kat, brand new to the workforce, grew up in Gmail, Facebook, SMS. When she sits down in front of Outlook Desktop in particular for the first time, it's frankly an overwhelming experience. It's probably more complex than any piece of software she's used before, and we need to address that. Lola, bread and butter, experienced information worker, deeply attached to Outlook, has high expectations for trustworthiness, security, et cetera, and just the power of the tool. So we have two different approaches for these two customers that we need to balance as we invest. We need to modernize, we need to innovate, and we need to bring the things that users trust and care about when it comes to Outlook forward. In particular, just to highlight a couple of pieces here, Lola clearly has a phone, uses Facebook, uses SMS, is quite familiar with the new communications patterns in these devices. If you look at something as seemingly obvious as the conversation model, I can't really imagine building the reading flow of traditional email in today's world. Scan to the bottom, read down, pop up, read down. It's a convoluted reading order built on the very early beginnings of the email ecosystem. We are investing in modern reading order, modern experiences for reading and communicating on top of email. You're seeing peaks of this in the groups experience in 365 and Outlook Desktop, peaks of it on iOS and Android with the top to bottom, the natural reading order. But expect us to do a lot we're going to be investing quite broadly, but just one example of speaking Kat's language and modernizing for Lola is adopting modern communication patterns on top of email. So our strategic approach is to continue to invest deeply in our strength. On desktop, you're going to see continued significant investment in Outlook Desktop, Outlook for Mac, and OA. But at the same time, shifting significant resources towards native mobile experiences. So authentic and native Outlook apps on all devices. Authentic meaning bringing the promise of the brand forward, being sort of familiar Outlook, yet modern at the same time. And we think that the only way to really achieve that is through native apps for each device. And so we are moving from wrapped web apps in some cases towards lightweight, fast, tuned native apps on all the devices that matter to our customers. You've heard this just at its core, at our core at Microsoft, mobile first, cloud first. This is something the company believes in quite deeply and resonates very strongly with the Outlook team. We are, again, talked about the usage patterns on mobile devices. One way to think about cloud first from our perspective, or one way we're thinking about it, is we are shifting as much of the tech as makes sense into the cloud, as much of the processing. You'll see us over time doing things like like aggregation of other accounts in the service in the cloud, shifting email processing, view logic even into the cloud. As much of the tech as we can practically into the cloud so it can be shared by all the endpoints. It allows us to build faster endpoints. It allows us to be more resilient against changes in other services. It allows us to get across all endpoints from an engineering perspective far more efficiently. So expect to see a general motion expect to see that general motion from us from an engineering perspective. So this hopefully answers the question of how you should expect to see functionality show up and how we're investing behind the scenes. So again, thinking hard about what we can build into the service, then quite likely using OA as the interface to prove that tech in the service. In many cases, it just happens to be more efficient for us. We can move faster. And then once we think the service architecture is correct, pick the right app endpoint, and it's going to depend on the functionality. Pick an app endpoint to stand up the functionality in. Might be Outlook Desktop, might be the iOS app. It just depends on the scenario and where that best next step is. Quickly learn, iterate, and perfect the experience there. And then an important and new motion for us, frankly, is then be quite aggressive about spreading that functionality across the entire ecosystem. So our users need to depend on or expect that we're going to have a common experience across all the devices. Now, that does not mean take Outlook Desktop and cram it into an iPhone. It means a sort of device-appropriate experiences across all of our endpoints and creating some balance and symmetry, if you will, across the endpoints. And realizing that innovation on a single endpoint is sometimes you could say it's frankly meaningless and perhaps confusing. We really need, again, to build out that ecosystem of experiences. So expect to see that motion from us. From a user experience perspective, we have and we continue to spend a bunch of time studying what it means to deliver a modern Outlook experience. What are the core elements of Outlook to our users from an experience perspective? This happens to be Outlook across the Windows 10 family. We could build a similar slide showing you Outlook across the different devices. Really sort of deeply understanding at first glance, what does Outlook mean to users? Turns out that things like the mail calendar switcher in the bottom left the fonts we use in the inbox, the coloring of unread, the iconography are all incredibly important signals to users that they're in Outlook, that it is familiar. It also means that we can take some liberty in the rest of the experience, and in particular, drive for simplification, modernization of the experience in a way that CAT, if you remember that I talked about, sort of lands with delight in the experiences rather than being overwhelmed. We're doing something new at Ignite. Happens to start at 10 o'clock. This runs till 10:15. That's going to be in the Q&A session, but it turned out, sadly, not to be advertised. We have a design panel that is running at 10 o'clock in E269. If folks want to go interact with some great designers and talk about how we're approaching design, and also give feedback about whether or not you'd like to hear anything about design at Ignite, that's worth checking out. So with that, we're going to switch to demo. Go ahead, Ellen.
All right. Thanks, Scott. So I'm going to be taking you guys through a demo of our iOS application, talk a little bit about the investments we're making around securing and giving IT controls for our iOS application, our Android application, as well as Windows 10, and then show you a preview of what we're doing on Windows 10 devices. And we'll show you both what we're going to be shipping here with Windows 10 Windows RTMs, and then show you some of our future investments on that platform as well. So with that, I want to go ahead and get started. Before I do that, I just want to quickly make a statement about something Scott pointed out earlier about the trend of email going mobile. We're seeing, as the data is shown, almost half of all emails are first opened and read on a mobile device. But unfortunately, while people are doing light triage, interacting with mail, maybe quick reply here or there, maybe some movement, they're actually deferring, even though they're reading mails on the devices, they're deferring the vast majority of that activity until they get back to their desk. So they might take a look, but really they do most of their work when they get back to their PC or to a browser. And so that's really where we have an opportunity with these mobile apps, and what I'm going to be showing you is to be able to provide for experiences, things like managing large amounts of email, managing your calendar, sharing large files. These are things that we're going to be able to do and we need to provide to help users get more done. Because we're seeing that growth in mobile usage, but not necessarily corresponding growth in mobile productivity. And that's really what we want to go ahead and accomplish here with our apps. So here I am in Outlook for iOS. You'll notice right across the bottom here that I've got Mail, Calendar, People all integrated into a single application. And what this is going to allow us to do is when I talk about helping users get more done on the go, we're going to be able to provide integration between all these different services and capabilities here within this single application, which is going to allow us to do some really rich things for our users. So here I am in my inbox. You'll notice right off the bat, I've got two tabs on my inbox. I've got a Focus tab and another tab right here at the top. So my Focus tab is here to help me, again, focus on the things that really matter. These are emails from my colleagues, the people I work with most in my organization. On the other side, I have my Other tab. Other is where you see things like distribution lists, newsletters, system notifications. Things are usually not quite as important in the very moment for me to deal with. So again, they're all here in my inbox. Nothing's being moved. But this two-tabbed approach allows me to really focus on what's important. In the modern day world where inbox overload is the new normal, Outlook is going to help you focus on what's important. So here I have this mail from Blue Apron. I'm a big fan. If anyone has used this, they provide you the ability to, they ship you meals and you can just cook them really simple. It's fantastic. So I've subscribed to this newsletter. First off, it looks beautiful. So you see the rich fidelity here of Outlook showing this newsletter. Looks amazing. But at some point, I don't want to do this anymore. I'm going to go ahead and I no longer need this in my inbox. Up at the top, I've got a one-click unsubscribe feature there. So go ahead and click. I can unsubscribe. Outlook will automatically remove this and all future notifications right from my inbox. So good functionality to help me get rid of the clutter in my inbox and be more focused as we move forward. So now that I need to triage more of my inbox, I'm going to do so with swipe gestures. So I'm just going to go ahead and swipe out this one. You saw this swipe gesture approach probably in 100 demos, so I'm not going to expend much time on it. But the important thing to note is where we really provide benefits over many of our competitive applications is these swipe gestures from both sides are fully customizable. So we know everyone does email a little bit differently. Some people like to flag, some people like to mark as read unread, some people like to move or archive, delete. Whatever the way you want to manage your mail, Outlook is going to let you do that here in this app. One of the unique features we have, though, the unique swipe gestures, is schedule. So this isn't actually scheduling a meeting. What this is doing is temporarily removing this mail from my inbox to return at a later point in time. So again, when we talk about the ability to focus on what's important, one of those things is to be able to just have the emails in my inbox that I need to triage. So we're focused, and other tabs allow me to focus on the certain mails that are most important. And then another way is I'm not going to deal. This was a mail. If you saw the subject there, was something about someone enjoying this demo. They thought it was fantastic. I'll go ahead and reply to them, but I don't need it in my inbox right now. So I'm going to go ahead and schedule and say, hey, remind me tomorrow morning. That email will actually return to my inbox tomorrow morning at the top of my inbox, and I'll see that come back in, and I'll be able to handle it then. But right now, it's not cluttering up my inbox. So as I'm scrolling here through some more emails, you'll know that the next thing you need to be able to do in a cluttered inbox is to be able to find content really quickly. And so we do this in several different ways. Of course, we've got your traditional search. So as I start to search for something, in this case, I'll search, whoops, I made a spelling mistake. I'll search for Northwind. So you'll see here I've got rich highlighting. You can see a yellow highlight all throughout this entire set of results, so I can see very quickly which emails include Northwind in them. You see the searches across all folders within Outlook, so it's not even searching just on the device, it's actually searching the server as well, so you can find that no matter where it is. And you also see I've got an update here on the top that actually shows me the number of results. So if I need to further refine my query to get a deeper set of results, I can go ahead and do that. In addition, if I'm doing something like starting to search for a user, you see it integrates with Orgal with the content within my inbox, so I can actually go ahead and quickly search for someone like Bonnie. It recognizes the people I work with most often, allows me to quickly search for them here. But of course, we actually have some other ways, some useful, more modern ways to actually search through your inbox as well. So up in the top right, you see we have these quick filters. Quick filters are a way to quickly filter my inbox. Pretty self-explanatory. So by unread, by flagged, by emails that have attachments. So no matter where I'm in my inbox, I can jump up there and get a quick sort as well. And actually, the way I manage my mail, when I'm usually searching for content within my inbox, the thing that I usually think about is who has sent me a specific email. Like I usually think more about the person I'm interacting with, or the person who sent me a file, the person who scheduled a meeting with me, rather than focusing on what was the content within that message. And so let me show you how we provide a view for that here in Outlook. So if I'm looking down, I see this mail here from Bonnie. I can click on a username anywhere within Outlook. And what that'll do is pull up this rich contact card. So when I talked for a moment ago about all of our services integrating together, the fact that you have your contacts, calendar, file, and mail all here in one application, what I've done is that when I click on Bonnie, I get this great view of Bonnie. First off, I get all of her gal information, so this pulls from Exchange. So here you've got your title, you've got your email, phone number, a bunch of notes, everything else that I need. But what I also have here is the ability up at the top, you see, to view all the mail that she sent me. So with one click, I can easily find all the mail she sent me, or, for instance, also take a look at files. So again, all the files she sent me are available in a view right here. So again, when I think about trying to find that person, I know it was Scott who sent me that mail. I can't find it when I can't find the search criteria. This is a great way to help you do that. And then again, these quick filters come into play again, because I know it was from me, and I know it was a slide deck. Well, there you go. Now I've filtered it down to my two options. I'm going to go ahead and be able to find that. So great functionality there. So let's talk a little bit, that was about mail. Let's talk a little bit about the calendar. So integration with calendaring is something that most email apps either completely ignore or have a minimum level of integration. If you think about the default iOS apps or the Gmail apps or other things, ooh, we got some phony folks here in the audience. Well, at least it wasn't appropriate. But but really quickly, I will archive that right out of my inbox. Let's see if anyone. So the integration with Calendar is something that we have the ability to do really rich things here with Outlook. So for instance, you'll see at the top I have this mail from Bonnie. I can quickly just RSVP. So you can choose to accept, tender, or decline. And you see I have this other mail here from Katie Jordan. So Katie actually, if I'll see the details here, Katie's actually outside my organization. She's an Outlook.com user in this scenario, but could be any other Exchange user, other Office 365 user, where you're not federated. So she can't see my calendar at all, right? So you have this often when you work with partners, customers, other people outside your organization. She's asking me, she wants to meet. So she can't see my schedule, so she's sending me a mail saying, hey, when are you free? This is something that's very common and something I would have traditionally had to just defer until I get back to my desk. So I'd have likely taken a look at this and been like, hey, I'm going to need to jump over to my calendar, which means pulling up another app. I'm going to have to try to read through my schedule, see what times I'm free, try to type all that out on my mobile. Probably sometime just going to say, you know what, I'll deal with this when I get back to my PC. Maybe I can take a screenshot of my calendar or something to that effect. No longer do you have to wait. Here we can actually do that with Outlook. So I'm going to come in here and attach some calendar information. In this case, I'm going to choose to send my availability. So she's asking me for coffee, so I want to do that a little bit later in the day. So I'm going to say, hey, let's meet today, maybe Wednesday in the afternoon, it looks like right after lunch, and on Thursday, a little bit in the afternoon. And just by quickly tapping here a few times, Outlook is going to take all that information, just a couple taps, format it beautifully, pop it into my inbox, and so I can go ahead and send this off to her. Now she has my availability. She can then schedule a time for us to meet. So rich integration again there between our calendar and our mail, integrating together to provide more capability for Sarah in this demo to get more done on the go. So let's actually take a look at the calendar. So here I have my calendar. You can see I've got support for multiple different calendars across multiple accounts, and I can assign colors to them here. So I've got several different calendars, my important calendar, my family calendar, just my day-to-day calendar as well here. And if I actually, let me turn off rotation a second. And if I flip to the side, I get this beautiful 3-day view as well. Especially on these larger devices, this is a great way to manage your calendar. Again, this feels very much like an Outlook experience. Something where you're able to see your calendar, see your availability multiple different times. Further, I also, for those of you who are not as much of a fan of the agenda view, we have a list view as well. So again, you can still see the calendar category as well. You can see rich information across all your times. So I'm going to go ahead and actually open one of these up so you can see what it looks like. We've done a lot of work for any of those of you who had downloaded the Outlook application but haven't used it extensively yet. This is one area where we've put in a lot of work since we launched at the end of January. So here I've pulled even more information out of Exchange and brought that here into the Outlook application. So you can see I've got the normal information about my date and time, but I've got more rich controls, including the ability to jump into or see where the location is, including a quick link to jump over to my maps to be able to map that. I can see all my invitees, who's accepted, responded as tentative or declined, and again, as I click into them, I get that full information as well as the ability to look across their files and everything. So again, the integration across. As well as I have the ability down here with a link meeting, that link shows up. Go ahead and clicking on that would book me right over to my link application here on my iPhone, allow me to join a meeting with one single click. So again, integration between all those services within Outlook as well as across to the other applications like Lync. And you can edit this up in the top right, and I can choose to reply and send a note to everyone, quick note saying I'm running late. So all the features you'd expect. And I think all those of us who've dealt with, as Scott sort of hinted on earlier, with mobile device manufacturers and mobile device operating system, they've owned the experience on devices for some time. And so we've relied on them to deploy and build the right tools to work with ActiveSync and work with your Exchange servers. Now we can own the experience. So we control, make sure things like recurring meetings show up correctly. When you remove a calendar item from your calendar, it actually is removed from your calendar. So with this, we're going to provide rich, full fidelity for your calendar and as well as mail, contacts, and files. So it's going to be hopefully a great experience for you guys. So I want to spend just a moment talking about files as well. So cloud storage is something that's becoming increasingly used across all businesses. So people are catching on to these benefits of cloud storage, the ability to work on one single document in real time together, not have to manage multiple versions. But sharing cloud stored files from your mobile device is, again, something that's been pretty tricky. This usually involved trying to go get a link, copying it into your email, also separately trying to manage permissions. You have to send a link, and then the permissions are right, and you go sort of do the back and forth. Again, something most people probably wait until they get back to their desk for. So Outlook has actually rich support for different file types, cloud storage providers, as well as native attachments here in the file section. So here I can sync a bunch of accounts. Obviously, I've got my OneDrive. I've got my email accounts here. I've got my work account as well as a personal Outlook.com account. I can sync other accounts like Dropbox, Box, Google Drive, and other things as well. In addition to just cloud storage as well, we have all attachments that you see. So this is my email address, and these are actually a view of all the attachments I've received. It's actually only showing just about the last month, which is why I only see a few here. Because I just set this demo account up, but allows you to quickly jump in, find the email. You can search across all of your accounts, all of your files across all your accounts right here from this file section. And so if I go back to my inbox, you'll see I've got this message at the top from Alex Darrow asking me to share a PowerPoint presentation for today. And so I have that PowerPoint presentation up on OneDrive. I'm going to go ahead and reply here and attach an item. And so this is going to allow me to choose from all that same file picker. So again, here I'm in the exact same spot I was. I'm going to go ahead and attach this Launch Talking Deck. Click Attach. This is generating a link, automatically permissioning the right view permissions for Alex Darrow here as a recipient. So again, something that's super simple, something that would have been really hard before, something you would have waited until you got back to your desk, now available here on this mobile device. I actually want to just bring up one more thing. You're actually seeing a native viewer built in here that is loading these files. We're actually working right now. Obviously, we just launched these apps a little bit ago. We're working right now with our Word, Excel, PowerPoint, OneNote teams, the folks across them to integrate with the rest of our Office applications across iOS and Android. So stay tuned for that. But we're actually going to be seeing those launched within the rich Office applications very quickly. So that'll be really exciting when we get that integration done. All right. With that, I think I want to go ahead and jump back over to the slides here briefly, just to talk about a couple of our investments we're making on iOS and Android, and then we'll jump over to the Windows 10 demo as well.
There we go. So while we're setting up for the next demo, I thought I'd talk about a couple of things in terms of the approach for iOS and Android. These are obviously the next generation of the Acompli experience. We are investing heavily in all the key pain points that applying the Outlook brand brings to an application. We've heard tons of feedback about just basic IT support, and it's a team that runs incredibly quickly. Alan, I think you said we released, was it 17 releases of the Android app between when we first launched and the time we took the preview tag off in 12 weeks. So moving incredibly quickly, very responsive to feedback, and investing very deeply in functionality that builds IT trust, first and foremost. And so the sort of simple checklist of focus near term is again first like basic IT, and we want all of our customers to be running, enjoying Outlook on Android and iOS, and so we're working incredibly hard on that.
So I'll just add a couple points to that as well, just to, as I'm sure many of you here thank you. As I'm sure many of you here in the room know, the way we built, and Scott talked about this a little bit earlier, they've architected this application that has a layer of cloud services that power a lot of the core foundational features of this application. So things like the focused inbox, the one-click unsubscribe, the search capabilities, the file experience I just showed you are actually done and accomplished by leveraging the power of this layer of cloud services. So today we're working on moving that fully into the Office 365 and Azure set of services. So that integration there will provide our customers all the benefits they get with Office 365 and Azure when it comes to our legal agreements meeting customers, compliance, security, and the like. In addition, as you saw in the keynote yesterday, if those of you were watching the Brad Anderson's keynote around Intune, we're integrating the full Intune SDK. So that will give us mobile device management, mobile application management, conditional access, as well as in this quarter, so we're delivering that here just around the corner in this quarter, as well as delivering OAuth support for Office 365 customers. So that will get us a great step where we'll actually be leveraging tokens rather than usernames and passwords when we're syncing between Outlook and the Exchange Online servers. And then lastly, that will also give us the ability to leverage the rest of the multi-factor authentication improvements, or functionality, I should say, that comes with Intune and Azure Active Directory. And so you're going to see all those come here in Q2, the Intune, OAuth, and multi-factor authentication come here in Q2, and then we're going to move quickly to get fully over into Azure and Office 365, and then work towards a lot of those things. So we know there are even more things, as Scott was saying, that customers are going to ask for, and I'm sure we're going to get some of them in the questions, and we'll do the Q&A here in a moment on that. But there's even more things we're going to go ahead and do. But again, as Scott said, the goal is to deliver a great application that businesses of all sizes want to be able to use. But at the first step, we knew we were excited launching the Outlook app. We've got tens of millions of users across consumers, many small businesses. There's a lot of people wanted to use that, so we were excited to get that out, see the response that we've had, and then we know we're going to get to all those IT things. So if you're wondering where they are, they're coming. Stick with us. They'll be there shortly. So with that, I want to jump over and actually do a little bit of work. I think we just...
Keep talking.
Yep, cool. Do a little bit of work showing you some of the investments we're making for Windows 10. So obviously Windows 10 is still in preview, so what I'm going to be showing you here is a preview application. So obviously we've delivered Outlook applications on iOS and Android. We've got an Outlook application on Windows Phone 8 today, but we've rebuilt a brand new application from the ground up for Windows 10. So what you're seeing here is Outlook designed as a new universal application. So here on my device, you can see it looks, and as Scott alluded to previously in the slides, it looks and feels like Outlook. It has the same blue red on red. It's got the same sort of style of recipient on top, subject second, content third. So again, looks and feels exactly what I expect from Outlook. I'm actually going to jump over to my other device, though, and show you this just to land the point about the universal application. Joe did a lot of this trying to drive home this point in the keynote, but just to prove that this is the same application. Here, what I've got is the same application running on my PC, and I've sort of shrunk it down so you have the same view. It's just slightly different because it knows this is a PC, not a mobile device, but almost identical code, or same code, but just a slightly different view here. And as I start to resize this application, you see it goes to sort of tablet mode, and then as I get bigger and bigger, it continues to scale out and gives me that full experience. So I'm going to go ahead and jump into tablet mode here. So you can imagine I'm using this, just imagine for this demo, I'm going to be using a tablet, using my Outlook experience, the new Outlook universal application on my tablet. And so what you've got here is, as I said, is a familiar Outlook experience. So it looks and feels like Outlook. I'm used to that 3-pane, or in a smaller experience, my 2-pane experience. So as I start looking through my inbox, I've got the same things that we've shown before. So I've got things like my swipe gestures. In this case, I've set them as flag and delete. So I can go ahead and get flag and get this nice, beautiful yellow highlight with a flag so I can find that email later on. The other area we've really invested in is our authoring experience. Oh, actually, before I get to that, I want to just point out a couple other things. Apologies. You can see also I have other things I expect from Outlook. As I hover over these, I've got my quick actions, so delete and flag. You're familiar with these from our O experience or our Outlook desktop. And as well as I keep scrolling down, I've got things like my high importance icon. I can recognize that I have rights protected messages here in my inbox. I can open those, view those, reply those. So things that are uniquely Outlook, all available here. And again, this will work across desktop, PC, tablet, etc. Phone as well. So now I'm going to go ahead and reply to one of these messages. So the other area we've really invested for our first step in this new Outlook for Windows 10 is in the authoring experience. So any of you who've used the Windows 8 application or the Windows Phone 8 application, although we really do like the UI of the old Windows Phone 8 application, it lacked a rich authoring experience. And so it's hard to really, what we say, get your point across in your mail when all you could use was simple text to talk. So here what you see we've integrated is actually all the controls from Microsoft Word. So if you look at the Word Universal Application, you'll actually see a lot of this rich capability here. And so this is similar to Outlook on the desktop, where we actually integrate with Word on the desktop to provide that rich authoring experience. We do that here on the Universal Application as well. And so that means I can put in text here and go ahead and make them bullets. Which is pretty basic, but I have more rich controls, so I can come in here, insert a table. I can go ahead and format that table. I've got all sorts of options, give it branded rows, give it a first column, do other things like that. So again, whatever I need to be able to do, I can insert pictures. I can come in here and insert pictures as well. So whatever I need to be able to do to get my point across and deliver a really rich formatted mail, I can do so. And actually, one of the things that was a really common ask was actually the ability to edit text in line. So this is something that's been available and has been a key piece of what you can do on Outlook for a long time. So as I come in here, I can actually choose to highlight text. And this, again, works not just on the tablet, but on the phone. I know this was one of the core asks on the phone, is to be able to edit emails in line and point out specific items there. So, of course, as I pointed out many times, the integration between mail and calendar is one of the key areas that differentiates Outlook from many of our competitors. So you see here on the left, and I'll actually bump this out real quick. You see here on the left, I have my folder pane, and at the bottom, I have my navigation between my mail and my calendar applications. So you notice how fast that was. So here I am just jumping between my mail, my calendar, jumps over really quickly. So we've got this beautiful mail application with rich support for Exchange and Office 365. This app is not only beautiful, but it performs really well. I'll just do a quick pinch to zoom, and here I have all my calendars moved from a month to a week view. I can just scroll side to side. You see this updates really quickly, and as you see, if I even beat it a little bit, it starts to really flow really quickly and gives me that nice, beautiful visual as I'm scrolling between my information here. So, of course, if I click on any one of these, I get a quick pop-up. Again, things I'm used to with Outlook. And I can jump into the full set of details where I get this rich calendar form where I can compose a nice note. I have all very familiar icons across the top, sending updates, canceling meetings, joining online. I can see all the people attending. The pictures will obviously integrate there when we get closer to RTM, as well as their accept, tentative, and decline status. So a lot of capability there, things I'd expect from Outlook available for me on any Windows 10 device. Okay, with that, I want to just pause there and actually jump over. And so we're going to be delivering, we've been hard at work to deliver these Windows 10 applications as the built-in native applications on Windows 10. So they will be on Windows 10 to support all email accounts, whether it's Exchange, Office 365, Gmail, Yahoo, Outlook.com. We're going to support all of them. And so we'll have this experience. What we've shown you will be not exactly near final, but it will be a very similar experience when we RTM with Windows. We're doing a ton more work to really add a bunch of innovative features, a lot of things you saw in iOS and Android and other places, and bring those to the Windows 10 app. So Scott's going to show some of that future code. So this is even farther ahead So bear with us a little bit if this is a little bit rough.
Oh, gonna switch back to duplicate. And yeah, so we've talked a bit about the iOS and Android architecture. We've talked about thin client, rich service. I wanted to give you a different view of Universal Outlook running against running against a bespoke channel to 365. To just give you a sense for some of the things that we're going to be able to do against that channel a bit later. We are shipping, as Alan said, the focus for the team primarily right now is shipping a delightful, reliable client for Windows that's going to connect everywhere, and that's priority one. So that's using quote-unquote local sync stack from Windows, and that's what's going to ship with the first release of Windows 10. We are working hard, though, in parallel on this additional stack. We've been working on it for a couple of years. Turns out to be quite a similar approach to the approach shipped with originally with the iOS and Android app, just with sort of a heavier focus on 365. So with that setup, let's see if this works. Let's see if it boots. Things that this channel gives us: incredible performance. It gives us the ability to add some delight to the inbox. You can see there that I've got an item in the inbox with thumbnails from the content in the item. That's been shredded in the service and sent down to us, and we're displaying it in the inbox. So just a nice delighter that allows you to find things faster in your inbox. We also, sorry, this is my own personal inbox. This is probably a bit nutty. You saw schedule in iOS and Android. We are experimenting with similar experiences here. Right now, we are experimenting with what we're calling Renew. This is not a branded feature. Did I just get shut off? Okay. But imagine being able to just reorder things in your inbox. This is a simple gesture. If you're at the end of a search result, you just want to throw it at the top of your inbox because that's your focal point. So imagine us bringing this together with the schedule experience on iOS and Android and creating a fully formed experience. But again, I just wanted to highlight the power that we can accrue from that native service connection. The last thing that I can click on once and only once is the reading experience that we're able to create. Actually, and it is not rendering. Let me do this really quickly. Every demo should have Task Manager running.
So while he's doing that, I just want to reiterate the point he was making there about the local stack. So what we're actually doing is building a direct connection with 365 so we can actually, as he was alluding to earlier, do richer things than what we have done today with Exchange Active Sync. So we're actually building new sync connections for Office 365. Similar as Acompli leverages a lot of cloud services to actually provide additional benefits and additional features above and beyond what the native EAS connection has been able to do on these mobile devices. We're actually doing the same thing for Windows 10. And so we're going to light that up with 365. And so 365, as you're already in the cloud, you'll be able to take advantage of those cloud services. We'll start lighting that up as well for some consumer services. So as you're using a Gmail account or an Outlook.com account, there's a lot more we can do there. And that's additional new protocol here is going to allow us actually to deliver a lot of these delightful end user features, the things that we're seeing here as well, allow us to do a lot more stuff. And so
this is what we're calling, I just wanted to show something we're calling natural reading order. But you're going to see us, I mentioned earlier, you're going to see us shifting over time to top-to-bottom reading, which is quite familiar both to the new generation and also, it turns out, to anyone, really everyone on the planet. We were quite concerned about traditional Outlook users being confused by reading text from the top to bottom. It turns out that it's a natural thing to do. So we think it's going to be a sort of a powerful new experience on top of Mail. The service allows us to do this. We are reasoning over content and people in the service, and then laying out effectively we're creating a new layout in Word. This is Word rendering this, but it allows us to have a nice conversation flow with reply at the bottom in a very interactive way. So that is, just to stress, a very early look at code that isn't shipping soon, but I did want to use it to reinforce the point about sort of the power of this new shape of application that we're building across all platforms. And with that, I believe we're done with scheduled programming.
Yep. So just to reiterate the points on the slide here, if you want to go ahead and test these applications, obviously the iOS and Android apps are in the available stores. So just go ahead and download those, start using them today, give us feedback. We'd really love to hear that from you. As well as to test the Outlook for Windows 10, just go ahead and install the latest Windows bits from the preview, and it will be installed as the native application. So with that, I'm sure we'll have quite a few questions, so we'll stop there. And if you can come up to these mics and ask questions, it'll be great. Thank you.
Hi.
Go ahead.
Hi. You mentioned there would be more control for administrators. What are those features?
Yeah. So a couple of things we talked about. The first step is integrating the full Intune SDK. And so that will give us more controls over mobile device management, as well as mobile application management, conditional access, as well. So those would be the core features. This one's less of a control for you, but it's something just benefit for everybody, is delivering OAuth for Office 365, as well as then separately delivering the ability to do multi-factor authentication, so all your users will be able to do two-factor authentication when logging into the Outlook application to make it even more secure. So those are sort of the first step for Q2. So just to actually, I guess, probably a useful clarification point for the Intune SDK. So there's when we integrate the Intune SDK, we made an announcement just recently that we're bringing a lot of the capability of Intune directly into Office 365. So if you've seen the announcements around the Office 365 mobile device management and conditional access controls, we're actually bringing a lot of that for free, just natively within any Office 365 account. So when we say integrating the Intune SDK, it does not necessarily mean you need to be paying for Intune entirely, but you'll actually be able to get it for free as part of using Office 365. So when you go to the Compliance Center within Office 365, you'll see the ability to do things like conditional access. If you're not familiar with conditional access, what this is when you log into the application, it reaches out to Office 365 or Intune, depending on how you have it set up, checks to make sure the device is compliant with different policies, like it has a password, it's encrypted, there's different things you can set in terms of turning off certain controls, whether that be screenshot or things like that. And so it checks and confirms the device is set and ready to be able to be used and complies with your organizational policies before it allows it to actually sync mail. And so some of those things will be built natively into 365. If you're using Exchange Server, you would obviously need to be using Intune or integrating your existing mobile device management, mobile application management solution with Intune in order to get some of those capabilities at first launch. But there's obviously more we want to bring natively for any Exchange customers as well, but that's just not a Q2 approach. That's a slightly longer term thing. I'm trying to think. There's one other point I was going to say. So the Intune piece will also give us the ability to control individual devices. So as of today, because of the way architecture of the Acompli acquisition that we had that became the iOS and Android applications, the cloud service connects to your Exchange server and then allows us to connect multiple devices to that cloud-powered service. In doing so, you only have one connection there in Exchange ActiveSync. So when you look in your device settings in Office 365, you see a user connecting, you can just see one connection. You don't see, say, if I've logged in on an iPad and an iPhone. So Intune will actually give us a lot of those controls right off the bat. So you'll see that again here in Q2. So it's between May and April, June. Yeah, May, April, June. So we're right around the corner from that being available. Those are sort of the first step of IT controls we're going to be providing. Cool. Next question over here.
Yeah, back in January, I downloaded the iOS app.
Yep.
And it worked great because I work part-time for a university, and within about a week they had blocked my access, citing some security issues, something about the password not being encrypted.
Sure.
And at that point I deleted it and haven't thought about it since. I was just wondering if that had been addressed.
Thank you. Yeah, thank you for bringing that up. We should have addressed that earlier. One of the things in the meeting to talk about in the slide. So there's a lot of questions around the security of the app. I will say there's also a lot of what we call FUD, fear, uncertainty, and doubt around it. There were some bloggers who got really excited, went out and posted a bunch of stuff, some of which was true, much of which was inaccurate, about the architecture of a service and the way we stored passwords. So let me just give you the details. I think hopefully this will calm many of you. For some of you, you'll still say, hey, that's not right for us, and then I'll show you how, regardless, we're going to be going to fix it in the future. So the first step is, because we have a cloud service, you got your Exchange server, your client. Traditionally, those have been connected with Exchange ActiveSync directly, right? With this, in order to do something better than what the native EAS connection and the native client on iOS or Android gave us, we had to build a set of tools, these cloud set of services, that allow us to do additional features and functionality above what the native app. Because almost 99% of users just use the native apps, we needed to do something better in order to get them to switch. So we built that cloud service. The cloud service powers a lot of those tools. But in order for the cloud service to then access your server, it's going to need your username and password. So when you first connect your Outlook application to your server, you first enter your username and password, it's going to go ahead and encrypt that password with an AES 128-bit key, store that up in the service, and then the service will be able to then connect to to the server. And so the architecture here is on the device, you have a username and a key. Up in the service, you have an encrypted password that's encrypted with a key that's only available on your device. And then you have the server. So in this scenario, if someone steals your phone, all they're going to get is a username and actually will get no password. For example, in a native EAS connection, if they stole your phone and were able to break your encryption, they're going to get your username and password. In our scenario, they get nothing of use. If they were alternatively able to break into our service, which believe us when we say we have lots of controls to prevent them from doing so, they're only going to get an encrypted password. That password, the key, is actually stored on that native device. So unless they're able to both break into our service as well as steal your device, break your encryption, get the key, match the two of them, they're going to be unable to get access to your password. Now, then you're probably asking, well, then how does our service ever access your server if it's encrypted? What it does is when your client, the Outlook client on your device, reaches out to make a connection, it reaches out to our service. At that point, it takes the encrypted key in runtime, in RAM, it will unlock that password, make the connection to your server, do its work, and then pass that information back to the device. And so it's just in runtime, in memory, that you actually have that unencrypted password at any point in time. It's never actually stored. It's never written to disk anywhere in the service. And so that's our current architecture. And so for some customers, we do know this is a problem. We understand that. We know for many customers it's not a problem at all. They become comfortable once they see the architecture, or they understand and trust Microsoft to do it on their behalf. And that's why we launched the application. Those customers can use it. Those customers who don't like that, go ahead and block that. So our next step is, I pointed out just a moment ago with the question from the gentleman over here, we're going to be delivering OAuth support. So for Office 365 customers first, just around the corner here in Q2, we're going to deliver OAuth support. And what that's going to allow is for any Office 365 customers, instead of using that email and password with OAuth, what you do is actually it reaches out to the Active Directory, the Azure Active Directory, pulls down a token, and then passes that token to our service. So at that point, we're not going to be touching your password at all. That's actually going to be managed completely by Azure Active Directory, and we're going to have no control over that. So for 365 customers, we'll be out of that game entirely, where we don't have any access to any passwords, and we'll get out of that. We already do that with Gmail with Outlook.com, with Yahoo, with all the other accounts that already support OAuth. But that just wasn't supported yet in Office 365. Office 365 is just turning that on, and then we'll go ahead and support that. Then the next step is, obviously, the last step is for Exchange Server. Obviously, that's the last one. And there's not, obviously, an integrated central directory like there is with all those other services, so it becomes a little bit more challenging. So that's our next step, is to try to go tackle that challenge. But for the moment, that's where we stand with architecture. So we feel confident standing up here saying it's secure. We understand it's not right for every customer. Exchange provides a great control to be able to turn on and off any clients who want to connect. We understand it's not the ideal solution, but that's where we're at today.
And just to add, I think there was an embedded question of what can folks do if their corporation has blocked it. I would just take everything that Alan said, take a fresh look. Remember, we're moving quite quickly, and we're moving quite quickly in terms of delivering this functionality. So take a look, see where we're at now, understand what our roadmap is. We'd love to get folks unblocked and using the app and giving us feedback on the app experience as well.
And just totally to build on Scott's point, I would point to, and I think it's sometimes hard to believe us when you've obviously been probably working in roles where you've worked with Microsoft before, and we say, hey, we're going to get to this feature, we're going to go build this, right? That often means 6 months, 8 months, a year and a half, or some longer period of time. I think hopefully you've seen by the releases we've had with iOS and Android, we've been moving at an unbelievable pace, 18 updates in 12 weeks. We're moving super fast from our launch just less than 3 months ago. We're already delivering all this functionality around Intune, OAuth, MDM, MAM support, conditional access. So the team's moving quickly, the stuff's coming fast, so we'll be very quickly to get to that as well. So question here next.
Yeah. Two quick things. One is, does the app play nicely with third-party MDMs? And then the second thing is with regard to IT controls, the other gentleman mentioned, we saw some demos yesterday in the keynote with regard to controlling copy and paste and that kind of thing, and are those controls in place with regard to this app as well?
So Brad Anderson was demoing what he was demoing there when he demoed the copy and paste. Those are one of the many features. I talked about the device management and other controls, but that's one of the many features of the Intune SDK. So when the Intune SDK drops, which again here is in Q2, that capability will be available. Your first question was around other MDM providers. We don't have an official statement on that at the moment of whether we will or won't support them. Right now, our focus is on getting Intune out the door, and then we're going to continue to take feedback and decide if and when we do the next set of mobile device providers.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Two quick UI questions. I saw in the Windows version there was no files option that like there were in the iOS and Android version, unless I overlooked it. Is that
right.
coming to
you're right.
Windows version?
So I can't comment specifically on when, but if you were to do the spot the differences game that my kids play all the time, you'd have a field day, right? These are apps coming from two different teams. I think it's remarkable how similar the approach actually is, given that fact. And we're working hard on. We spend a lot of time thinking about a cohesive experience across the the ecosystem. And so the Files experience is really successful on the phone. People love it. So it's likely that we're going to offer something analogous on Windows. Similarly, there are things that we're investing in on Windows that we're excited about that we're going to bring to iOS. And overall, synchronize on the same verbs, the same experiences, the same look and feel. So not mirror image. You're going to see us look authentic for the device, yet have consistent experience across all the devices.
Okay, and just follow on.
Yeah.
Focused view and clutter kind of seems to be confusing for end users to understand the difference. Is there a convergence going to happen in that area, or
Yes.
what's the vision?
Yes.
Yes.
Yeah. So the benefit there of Focused Inbox is it works against everything, right? So it works against Exchange if you have an older version of Exchange that doesn't have clutter. It works against, Exchange doesn't have clutter, 365, right? So it works against Gmail, it works against Outlook.com, it works against Yahoo. So we're going to keep that capability in the product so that you'll be able to use it against all your accounts. for 365 accounts, and you're just using a 365 account with that, we'll be able to go ahead and converge those experiences. So your focus will be, that, and clutter would be the other. So.
And the tech powering it is quite complementary, and so we're working on bringing the best of both together.
Yeah. Clutter is going to learn from focus. Focus is going
Yep.
to learn from clutter. We're going to have one experience. Deliver
Yep.
it. So, I think you were next here, sir. Oh, sorry. Actually, this gentleman in the back has been waiting patiently, so I didn't see him there for a moment. Let's jump over to him.
I'm using the Android app, and a couple things. Is there a way to access public folders?
There is not.
Is that planned?
Potentially not. Potentially. So that's one of the many things we'll say is in the list of items to discuss whether or not we will or won't support. So we haven't actually made an official decision on that one yet, being totally honest.
And go ahead. I just say same's actually true for Universal at launch. We realize it's a feature that people depend on deeply, though. So it's going to be something that we treat as quite important.
Yeah.
And
So,
then,
don't have to answer for that.
it doesn't look like the signature function supports rich text. Is that true?
On Android.
Yes. On Android and iOS, that is accurate.
Okay. Any plans to fix that?
And that, I'll just take that as feedback.
Yeah.
Okay, because, I tried, when I'm sending from my phone, sometimes I want people to think I'm at my desk, and it looks different.
I have no idea what you're talking about.
Call that the golf course feature? Yeah. Okay.
Thank you.
Sure. Thank you. Appreciate the feedback.
Yeah, and by the way, before you go, one of the amazing things about the iOS and Android apps, from my perspective, is the customer connection that we're building within the app. And so it's I'm not being sort of facetious when I suggest give the feedback in the app, connect with support in the app. That is the primary driver of investment, and so we take that incredibly seriously. So please do provide the feedback.
Yeah, that goes for everybody.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yes.
We're actually, I hope, in an exciting way. Traditionally, if you wanted to give us feedback, you had to be here at one of these events or know one of us, or connect with us in some other way. Calling support would have gotten you a phone call with the support line. Wouldn't have been quite as useful. But with Acompli, we're actually, sorry.
It's still our shorthand.
Yeah, it's sort of ingrained in your head from the acquisition. But with the iOS and Android apps, we've actually built in the direct ability to message directly with us and with our support teams there. And so it's really easy for us to then run data against that, triage all the asks, which helps us prioritize going forward. So really great stuff there. So give that a shot, please. It'll help us. So I think then it was this guy here.
Okay, this is not necessarily a mobile device question.
Sure.
It may be more related to the Win32 client. but
Sure.
I thought I would ask.
We'll try.
As we have been giving people Office 365 subscriptions and have been deploying the mobile apps to iOS and Android, we've discovered that people will use that capability to install Office, including Outlook, on their home PCs, which are totally unmanaged devices. For things like SharePoint Online and OneDrive, those teams have added, or in the process of adding, a feature that will allow us to block sync to those, block sync of the Office 365 content to those devices.
Mm-hmm.
So my question is there anything that the Exchange team may be working on to block email sync to unmanaged PCs and Macs?
Yeah, so first off, yes. The main approach we're taking with this is with what I talked about a moment ago here when it comes to conditional access. So conditional access is a capability provided by Intune, natively the technology of Intune, which is available both with an Intune subscription and is now being built into Office 365. So we actually, if you've looked back to our blog and announcements, we call it mobile device management for Office 365. We're not, when it's built into 365, we're just simplifying it to MDM as opposed to calling it Intune in the 365 experience. So if you've heard of that. So that provides conditional access. And so when you do conditional access, what that does is when you attempt to log in on a device, before it's going to sync an email, it's going to reach out to your Office 365 account or Intune account, see the list of criteria you have for syncing mail to that device before it goes ahead and allows you to sync mail to that device. And so in that scenario, one of the things you could say is this needs to be a corporate managed device before it can sync mail. And so if it reaches out to Intune Office 365 and says, hey, here's this device is trying to connect, and the device says, okay, only do it if it is a corporate managed device, then it won't sync mail. So that's how we're managing mobile devices. When it comes to a Windows desktop PC, that one's a little more challenging because I don't think that it's quite wired up yet to do that. I need to follow up. I do know they're intending to add that feature for conditional access across all the Office applications. I know we built it into our mobile applications first because that was where customers were asking for it first. And then I need to follow up on the actual desktop side. I don't know if you know some more, Scott.
So the follow-up would be, does that then imply that you would need to manage your corporate PCs with Intune?
Sorry.
Would you need to be able to manage your corporate PCs with Intune?
Yes, for that feature to work specifically, yes, you would need to be able to you need to be managing your devices with Intune.
Even the corporate domain joined PCs?
Well, so I'm unsure of the that's what I was saying. I'm unsure of the desktop scenario here. With mobile devices, yes, you would need to be managing them with Intune.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
So most of our people in the field, we're giving them OWA for Android and iOS, or MOA, which I like.
Sorry, what was the first couple of words you said?
Most of the people in the field,
Yeah.
like these people that don't have desktops, they work mostly on their mobile device. So we like the OWA mobile because it's very powerful.
Yep.
Just things like they can schedule link meetings, they can access their archive mailboxes,
Yep.
OneDrive for
Totally.
Business, obviously that's a big one.
Yep.
I guess we didn't talk much about that, and it seems like
Great point. Yep.
that's the direction. Are you guys kind of moving away from that?
Totally.
Obviously,
Yeah.
it has its interface shortcomings, but
Yeah.
it's so powerful. I mean, so we're moving away from that, and these are features that we're eventually planning to bring into the Outlook app.
Yeah. So you sort of guessed at it. So we announced we are moving away from OA. The OA applications themselves will be sunset at a point in time where we deliver more of the IT controls for Outlook. So we're keeping that available for the moment until we have some more of the controls and compliance around the Outlook application for the questions a couple folks had around, passwords and other such. So that will
by the
stay.
way, we've announced we're moving away from MOA, not OA.
Sorry. Yes.
Just wanted-
Yeah,
Sorry.
it's
what
confusing.
I meant, so we're moving away from the OA application on iPhone and Android, what's
Yes.
officially called OA for iPhone or OA for Android. Colloquially, we all refer to it as MOA. So the point I was going to get to was if you would still go into Safari or Chrome or whatever it be on your mobile device and just log in the browser to Office 365, that will continue to be a core area of investment for us. And so in this new scenario, one of two things is going to happen. One is the MOA app in this scenario is still going to be around for a little bit of time. We're going to continue to add features as they make sense to the Outlook application. So things that customers are asking for are going to be added to Outlook, the actual Outlook application. And then there's probably going to be a delta of some features that will be lost when the MOA app goes away and Outlook is then available. But those will all still be available just in the browser. We just won't have that app launcher on your screen. So you could do whatever you need to. Save it as a favorite, ping that website to your home screen, gives you essentially the same experience. And so that will continue to be a core area of investment for us for all the set of features. But Outlook will be, for the vast majority, 99% of users, that's going to be all of what they need. And so that's going to be the hero experience because it's a way better experience for users.
So just quick follow-up, OneDrive for Business integration in Outlook, do you have a rough estimate of that? I won't hold you to it, but that's one thing that we're really asking for.
Do we have a rough estimate on that one?
We were shooting for this quarter. We've been spending a lot of time getting the Intune stuff just right, and so it's coming soon. It's definitely a super high priority.
Yeah. So the question was there for folks who weren't. Right now we support in the file section, we support a bunch of features, but we don't yet support OneDrive for Business in files. So that's coming very shortly. How much time do we have?
We are 16 seconds. There's
Okay, cool.
There's a red light.
We should
flashing.
have. There's a break. There's a break between. No. Ask your question. Sorry. We got 16 sections, and there's a break between the next session, so we can still answer your question. Go ahead.
Yeah, it's just on our current infrastructure, we do encrypted mail traffic end to end, and when you use the Outlook app in your cloud service, do you insert yourself into that encrypted traffic and maintain it encrypted from end to end? So, right now my devices, all their client to our exchange, all the mail traffic is encrypted. But if I go through your service, will that maintain its encryption? And if it doesn't today, are you planning on trying to implement that as part of your future roadmap?
Yeah, so we use SSL to connect between your Exchange server and our service, and then our service and the device. So I'm not sure what you're using for encryption, but that's going to be the way we're going to do it for the moment. So that is a strong, common encryption. Yeah, so that's what we're going to use today, and we're going to continue to use. Yeah, one over here.
Quick question. When we sunset the OWA app, is the user have to go and download the Outlook app instead?
Yes.
Because we have 1,000 and 1,000 of users that use it right now, use the OWA app.
Yeah. So yeah, that's we were just talking about the gentleman here a moment ago. Yes, we will sunset the OWA application and ask those users to move to Outlook. We'll do so in a couple ways, but one of the last things we'll do, we'll obviously have announcements for our field and account managers to go make sure customers are aware. Secondarily, we'll be posting publicly on our blogs and everything else. We'll also deliver some in-app notifications, so the users will get it. They'll load the app, they'll see something in app that says, oh, by the way, we're moving this to Outlook, go ahead and click here and jump over.
Thinking like it would be like a way, like they will get a message and they will upgrade from the OWA app, they can upgrade to the Outlook app.
Yeah, that unfortunately won't be possible with this, what the controls Outlook or Android or iOS or Android provide us, but we'll give you one button to click to the store, and then you just need to hit download. So it won't be that simple, but hopefully users will be able to figure it out. Okay. So it'll be a little painful, but okay. One more at the back here, and then I'll jump off the stage, and we'll handle these directly just so that we can let the next group get set up.
Well, actually, I have two questions.
Okay.
The first one is for the Outlook for Windows 10 app that you're building.
Yep.
Will it be able to support direct ActiveSync to our Exchange server, or does it go through the cloud service?
So no, it won't use the cloud service. It'll go directly at launch, so it'll connect directly with EAS.
Yep. Okay. The second question was a follow-on to the one about you guys storing passwords in the cloud. Do you also store email messages in the?
We don't store them; we cache them. And I use that distinction because mail has to pass through it for us to do the rich functionality that we showed in the app. All the cool features, the things that we love about the app, need to pass through so the cloud can do a bunch of the capability and then provide that to the device. And so it's cached temporarily there, and then as sort of a rolling 1 month period, it gets wiped out of the service. We have zero interest in caching people's mailboxes because that is incredibly costly and storage at scale like that. So we have it pass through to be able to use our features, but then we just wipe it as it goes out. Sorry?
What was the question?
Yes, up to a month, correct. Okay, cool. Thank you very much, everybody. We're going to go ahead and have to finish up so they can jump in here. Thank you very much for your questions.